The non-tender deadline is tomorrow, Friday, November 18th, and the Twins have some non-tender candidates once again this year. Here we have a list up from MLB Trade Rumors. They're very good at this. These are their projected arbitration salaries for each of the Twins players who are eligible. If you're not real familiar with the arbitration process, we don't need to get too deep into it. Basically, these are the projected salaries of what these guys would get if they went to arbitration. So if the Twins want to offer these guys a contract, this is a general estimate of around how much they're probably going to have to pay for them. So what the Twins have to do is decide whether they want to offer these guys arbitration and go through that process or not, and non-tender them. They become free agents. So it's a big decision. It's a kind of a weird thing, but it's a key thing this time of year especially. A lot of these decisions are knocked out of the park. Some of these are already done. As you'll see, I've marked up this a little bit from their original projections. Danny Coulomb and Cody Stashak are both free agents after being removed from the 40-man roster. The Twins decided they didn't want to keep those guys anymore. Jake Cave did not clear waivers. He got claimed by Baltimore, so he's now with the Orioles. And then there is one guy they already agreed to a contract for 2023. That's Kyle Garlick, who they signed to a $750,000 contract for next year. The rest of the guys are still up in the air, and the top two names listed here, Gio Urshela and Emilio Pagán, are both non-tender candidates. It's almost not even worth trying to analyze what they might do with Pagán, in my opinion, because at any time you try to analyze what they would do with him, you would say, well, clearly they're going to get rid of him, and they haven't. I'm assuming that they're probably going to keep him, and I don't know if they're probably going to try to agree to something less than that $3.7 million and keep him around. I don't know. Again, it's very hard. I get it. A lot of people who are very smart and know a lot more about pitching and like the guts of pitch movement and classifications and all the advanced stuff have given me good information on Emilio Pagán. I get it. I see what the Twins like in him, but at the same time, it just the reality versus what you could see is there's such a gap there that I'm not going to even bother to predict it. We're just going to move straight over to Gio Urshela. And, Twins fans will remember this will be maybe a familiar process that we had with Eddie Rosario a couple years ago to where, it's not necessarily that they don't want to keep the guy. It's just that they don't really think that guy is going to be worth the salary that he has. And this is kind of a thing that happens a lot with guys in their last year of arbitration. Basically, this system makes sure that they're paid fairly. And, that they're valued to where they should be. And it's especially guys in their last year of arbitration kind of reach a good level, reach a good salary. And I think that $9.2 million, that's a good number to put on Gio Urshela. I think he's worth somewhere in that neighborhood, but you're certainly not getting excess value. Gio Urshela at $9.2 million is not a deal. And, if you watched a lot of my Twins analysis, especially last year, the thing that if you want to try to figure out what this front office is trying to do, it all boils down to value. Is this a value? They focus on that on free agency. They try to focus on that on trades, non-tender decisions. And I wouldn't necessarily say Gio Urshela at $9.2 million is a value. I think that's a pretty fair price for him. And in that discussion, I think that there is a good chance that the Twins non-tender Gio. Now, why don't they just tender him a contract and then trade him later? I think they would love to do that. I think that would be their preferred method to go. And I'm sure that they've talked to teams, at the winter meeting or the GM meetings that were in Vegas. And I'm sure they've been bouncing his name around. And I know third base is thin in terms of the free agent market right now. But there are some other guys that can play third who are non-tender candidates who may be becoming free agents tomorrow. So maybe that's kind of over-analyzing things just to look at it that way. But if we look at Teoscar Hernandez, who was just traded to Seattle, who was in the last year of his arbitration, he just got traded for Eric Swanson, a really good reliever, but a relief pitcher and kind of a wild card pitching prospect. Teoscar Hernandez is maybe one of the top 20, probably at least one of the top 30 bats in all of baseball. And, Eric Swanson is really good, but that's a pretty light trade package, in my opinion. So I think that tells us how these guys who are on one-year deals that are paying them pretty close to what market price should be are not going to have a whole lot of trade value. I'm not sure if the Twins offer Gio arbitration, if they're really able to get anything in a trade for him. Because if teams are in, the bottom teams aren't going to be looking to spend $9 million on a third baseman who's not a superstar type player. The top teams in the league, who are spending money, are going to be aiming their sights higher than that. They're going to be looking for someone who is better than Gio Urshela. So he's just, and this is, again, very similar to the Eddie Rosario conversation. This class of player is in kind of this weird spot, and especially when they have a salary kind of tied to them through this arbitration process, it can really impact their trade value a lot. So yeah, that's, if you're wondering why don't the Twins just give him arbitration and then trade him, I don't know. I don't know that there's much or any of a trade market for a guy like that. It's hard to say. I would keep him. I would keep Gio Urshela. I would offer him arbitration. I'd pay him $9.2 million, but I'm very much like a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush type thinker. I felt that way about Rosario too, and it's the same conversation a little bit. Yes, there are internal guys who you could replace him with, just like at the time that same was true with Rosario, but why not let that work itself out organically? If it turns out that Jose Miranda is the best option at third base every day, you can kind of let that play itself out. Now, on the other hand, the counter argument, and I think this is where the Twins front office is thinking, well, wait, if we could put Jose Miranda at third base and then have this $9.2 million to spend, there's some things we can do with either having that help us get Carlos Correa, having that help us maybe sign a Carlos Rodon type, or, just signing someone like Jose Abreu to be a DH. And then since you have Miranda at third, you have some more first base and DH reps available potentially. It's a lot of moving parts when you're kind of thinking about moving these guys' positions around. Now, to anybody who is kind of not believing in Jose Miranda as a third baseman, I get it. He didn't look great there with the Twins, but he didn't play there all that much. He wasn't that sharp. And remember, a lot of you guys were trashing this guy, Jose Miranda, when he didn't come out of the gate hot and talking about how he's a bust. And then when he came back, his June and July were tremendous. I think we could see something very similar to that with him in the field, to where even though he didn't look good last season, he may look a lot more comfortable there this year. Young guys just take some time. And, even though Gio Urshela makes some remarkable plays over there, very fun player to watch at third base. My eye test says he's a pretty darn good third baseman, but if you look at any defensive metrics across the board, he is either regarded as average or below average in some of them, because he doesn't have that big of an arm. Again, that doesn't necessarily align with my eye test. To me, he seems like a pretty darn good third baseman, but I just want to put that out there as well. A lot of the metrics do not view him in a positive light at third base, so I think that's another factor that's going into this. If you were to make me bet money on what's going to happen, I would bet that Gio Urshela is going to get non-tendered. And, it's going to be a bit of a controversial decision, and a lot of people are going to be saying cheap Polats. I get it, but I would say let's pause on that. If that's how it goes, I would say let's pump the brakes on that and let's see where they allocate that $9.2 million to. I don't think that $9.2 million is just going to be put into their pockets. I think that's going to be spread somewhere else. And, if that's the budgeting they're doing and they have to non-tender Gio Urshela and they need that $9.2 million to make room for Correa's salary, for some pitching salary, for whatever else, bullpen additions, you get a big bat, whatever else, then maybe it does make more sense to put that money elsewhere. I could see some scenarios where it would make more sense. But anyway, thanks for watching this video. Thank you so much to all the channel members. Here are the premium members listed here. We will talk again soon.